You are listening to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where illumination and inspiration is but a click away. With so many genre topics for you on everything that you need to know in life. We celebrate and share the people who have taken the journey before you and who are now here to serve you with their wisdom and their knowledge. The next show coming up is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living. I am your host, Sarah Torrey, right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We may have a little on my side out of sync. We're always trying to get synced in life, but the internet doesn't always agree with us. But that doesn't mean you're not going to have a wonderful show with some incredible, wonderful information coming your way today. And it's about being your own wellness boss. How do you become your wellness boss? Well, my guest today, Rachel Kelch, is going to tell us all about that. How to be a balanced well-being. You know, we can throw these balls up in the air and most of the time we drop them because we do not give ourselves enough wellness or careness or lovingness to find that balance that we need in life. Well, this is what's so wonderful about today, because we are talking to a millennial who already has got it well balanced, and she's here to kind of help us get that equilibrium and let everybody know they deserve to be healed. She's taken 10 years of healing experience in education and broken it down into a 6-week health coaching program. And adjacent to this show, you can go into her business show where we're going to be talking about exactly what the 6-week program is, all the other services that she gives you, and we will be talking in particular detail on that. Today, why is she taking this path? Why, even at her young age, is it so important for us to find our own, to be our own wellness boss, to find our own balance? And what skills has she learned that's taken us so long to learn that she knows already that we can apply to our lives? But because we definitely need to be in balance. It's exceptionally important to everything you do in life to be well balanced. But it's one of the hardest things to do, isn't it, Rachel? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, we're trying to make it easier for everyone.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
How did this start for you? Because, as I said, you've been on this journey for 10 years. You are a millennial, so you're a youngster in my books.
Yeah,
And
a baby in business.
a baby in business, absolutely.
Yep.
Which we're seeing so many millennials today. You're not going through the process we did, which was actually a lack of permission to place value upon ourselves. That's what we grew up with. And, you know, millennials, again, that's a whole load of codswallop. If you don't place value in yourself, how is anyone else going to value you for who you are, right?
Yep. There's one thing about millennials, and that's that they just want to know that what they're doing is something that's purposeful.
Yes.
And I am driven by purpose very much, even at a young age, right? So it's like, yeah, I'm excited. It's amazing. 30 years old, and I've been doing this for a long time now. And I just kind of got thrown into this path. You know how life does. Like, you might think you want to do something else, but really, I think, you know, the greater cause, God, all that knows where you should be, and you just land where you need to do your best.
Yeah. I'm just going to ask you to turn your volume up just a fraction, just so there's a little more balance there. And, you know, the thing is, you used a huge big word there, and this is a word that is very hard for a lot of older people. Allow. Allow it to happen, you know, paying attention to what's in front of you and allowing it to happen, not dictating it, not going by a manual, but allowing and recognizing what's in front of you. That in itself is an art, isn't it?
Yes, it's not allowing room for control. You're going with the flow. You have to allow things that are best for you, and that can be a little scary because, you know, you think it's out of control.
It's the trust in the unknown. And, you know, again, we grew up by numbers. You know, paint by numbers, do by numbers, you know, have your 2.5 kids, retire at this age, do this at that age. If you haven't married at this age, you're this or that, you know, labels and numbers. And, you know, nowadays it's, you know, what you earn or how old you are or any of that, none of that counts, does it? It's just like, what are you actually doing, and are you honoring yourself and your community?
Yeah, what are you bringing to the planet to serve others?
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge service movement, And it's funny because that looks selfish. It looks selfish to people, but it's actually service. In the millennial mind, like, what can I do every day to serve? And that's why they want to be involved in projects that feel service oriented, because it's purposeful.
Yeah.
Everything is purpose driven. Yeah.
Now, how did you find that purpose, though? I mean, you know, for some people, it's a lifetime, you know, in discovery. How did you find it so early?
I know. Can I be vulnerable for a minute and tell you?
Absolutely. We love vulnerability here.
Okay. It is not what I wanted to do. I tried to do anything but what I am doing right now. And it made me more sick, Sarah. Like, you know, when you're out of alignment with your purpose, yes, you become sick. And I kept making myself more sick, thinking, oh, well, if I think that I can holistically or integratively heal people and I take all these things and start applying them, what are people going to think of me? This is new. This is scary. So I tried to do anything, but I tried other businesses. I tried to convince myself otherwise. I tried hard to not be where I'm at.
Resistance is futile.
Yes, but I was still forced until it just worked out, you know, and all the effort I put in. That's the thing that's interesting, is when you put energy into something and it comes back to you easily, it's the right path. If you're resistant on things, you know it's not for you.
That is actually really interesting, because is, you know, the old adage, you know, going against the wind or with the wind. And, you know, we know that when you're going against the wind, you're just going to get flappy cheeks. You know? And
yes, I love
that. And when the wind is behind you, you know, literally it lifts you up and propels you forward, but it always puts you down somewhere for a reason, doesn't it? Yeah. You're down here at the moment because there's something for you to do or something for you to learn.
Yeah.
And that is something, the attunement, you're talking about balance and attunement, is the not only with the exterior of where we are, but with the interior of who we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just never know who that's going to be. And like you said, you grew up in a world where you were told how to be, told how many children to have, told what you should do every day. The freedom that I get to have in a different world now, I can choose what I want to do every day, choose how I create income, choose how I make an impact. It's kind of a lot of responsibility to show up.
Yes, there is that point, because, you know, we could always blame everyone else.
Yeah.
The government, you know, society, and always say, you know, being brought up by society's expectations.
Right.
You know, and if you failed, everything around you failed you. You didn't fail, because we were never given that responsibility for our own actions, because we were too busy following what we should do or what somebody else has imposed upon us to do. When you're actually in your own, because this is Choose Positive Living right here, when you're actually choosing for yourself, you're now accountable.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean there's blame, does it? Because you're going to land on your backside a few times.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's how you get back up that's important. So how did you get back up from your resistance? Because you were resisting and it was saying, hey, you're going this way.
Yeah. A couple different things. Well, first, you mentioned failure, right? I had to change my belief system around failure. Failure that I understood back then was, that's it, it's over. Why did I try? Embarrassing. The failure I understand now is that failure is to redirect where I'm supposed to be going. Yeah. The failure was saying, you know what? Maybe you're not valuing yourself in this area. I'm going to redirect you over here. Well, you're going to shine a little brighter, right? So to pull myself out of that was to educate myself, like from people like you, listening to positive podcasts, realizing that I was worth standing up and taking care of these other people who had nowhere else to go for their help.
And you can't be that representation unless you are living it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, right? Yeah. I was totally sick. I went through all that my clients have gone through. We definitely connect on that level of, hey, you know what? I've been there and I'm out of the other side, and they want to know how I did it and how they can do that.
Well, that's the entire premise of the selfdiscoverymedia.com is people who've taken that journey, because we learn best from those that have been through it. We relate, you know, because you're telling our story, whether it's a different illness or not, you know. And the fact that you've got through the other side, there's hope. You know, we can too. Then there's the how. How did you do it? Can I apply it to myself?
Sure.
And then it comes into that self-discovery of who are we meant to be on the other side, because we're not given anything for no reason. There's
No.
always a lesson learned in it, isn't there?
Yeah. Yep. I truly believe now where I'm at that I can look back and say, okay, every thought that's positive, every idea, everything that comes into your mind is your gift and talent. And I grew up thinking I had no gift or talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, you hear people say that, like, oh, I'm not good at anything,
Yeah.
or I couldn't do that. No, if you have a positive idea, that is your gift. And then you just put it to work, and you just fail and fail and fail until you get it.
I look at failure in a different way. For me, failure is if you never try or if you give up.
Yeah.
If you land on your ass a few times and
Uh-huh.
you get back up,
Then
you
you're
know,
awesome.
that is absolutely, because
Yeah.
I mean, if I never would have got anywhere if I'd never got back up. I've been on my ass quite a few times
Yeah.
in life, perhaps a little too much, because I was always trying new directions. But it's not being afraid to, right? Because I think most of the time people are afraid. What are we afraid of? Could it be that expectation, you are a failure?
Yeah.
Are we afraid of that? Are we afraid of trying? Are we afraid of succeeding? I mean, where does the fear come from?
Yeah. And to use fear, and Sarah, you probably do this, but fear to me is a friend. And I learned this from someone in the beginning. So she taught me to keep fear behind me to push me forward. Fear of not showing up and utilizing my gifts and talents. Fear of not being my best me and fulfilling what purpose I'm here for. Fear of not being able to help others. Fear is a good tool, and it can push you forward as fast as you want to let it go.
Yes, you've got to be careful that it doesn't cripple us, because for some people it just freezes them. That's it. They cannot go anywhere. They can't do anything. When I used to do coaching, which I still do now and again, too busy running the station now, you know, and it would be, well, what are you afraid of? Can you pick it up? No, it's basically fear itself. And they've allowed fear to completely cripple them with an inability to see another step in front of them. But as you said, when you look at it as the wind behind you, right? You know, then it is, well, what can I be? I think that's also another thing too, right? Is why are we not inquisitive of what we can be and what we're here to do?
Right.
Where did we lose our exploration of self, of life?
Oh my gosh, I've never thought about that. And why are we afraid to look into that? I don't want to use a cop out and say we're afraid of success. I think that's kind of old. I think it's more of we're unaware of what our true power really is. And once we connect with that, you know, you can't go back.
Right.
You really can't. Once, what they say, you know, you stretch your mind and it can never go back.
Right.
And so there's a lot of change, and change can be a little scary, even if it's good.
But you've hit on something. You can't go back.
No.
You now are enlightened. You know better. So now means you have to take ownership of it.
Yeah.
The other way is you've still got someone else to blame.
Yeah. And we don't like blame. Yes. Blame is absolutely not allowed when you're enlightened.
Yay, good.
Yes. No, it's not a friend. There's no use for it. It's an absolutely negative space that we want to clear, because we're responsible. And I talk to people all day long about it. You're responsible for what's showing up in your life. You can't blame anyone else for those experiences. You brought it on for a reason. So we're going to figure out how to get the most out of that.
And the thing is, you're not to blame with things that happen to you that are beyond your control.
No. Yeah.
But you are in charge of how you choose to deal with it.
Exactly.
That's where the empowerment is, isn't it? It's the choice of how you deal with it. You can't always, you know, be held accountable. Maybe cosmically you invited it. Maybe it's part of your you know, contract that you signed when you came here. But you know, nobody asks for some of the things that happen to them. However, it is part of their redirect in becoming who they are. That then lies as their choice, isn't it? Right.
And gaining power back, like you just said, empowerment.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you can't believe how many people have given their power away that have to get it back to be made whole. And I tell people all the time when we're working together, whether it's emotional trauma, disease, whatever the case, you're not whole. So what we need to do is figure out where that power is gone. And we need to get that power back, because you're a wonderful recipe and we can't finish the recipe without all the ingredients.
Beautiful.
And
Love that.
that power, that
Yes.
power has to be brought back from wherever it has gone, and they feel amazing.
Yes, I'm always saying, my little metaphors of this is discovering what instrument we are.
Yeah.
And then learning to play it in a way that we can bring it to an orchestra and create a symphony and harmony that resonates out an invitation to others.
Yeah.
That is the point, is discovering our own empowerment. What is our instrument? What is our ingredient in the dish of life? Mm-hmm. It's not about us standing alone. It's about us rising up to a certain frequency, to a self-love, to a meaningful purpose, and being part of service to the collective.
Yes. And that high frequency comes in giving more service.
Yes.
Right? Like, why do you do what you do? To serve other people, to make an impact. Everyone wakes up every day believing that what they're doing is making a change in a good way, So it's like, service is definitely something to raise your vibration. And I absolutely love talking about frequency and getting people to live above disease and get through that so they can be their best self.
Well, as a Hertz measurement, we need to be at least at 580 a day.
Yeah.
Right? And, when you're higher the frequency that you're in, the less anger you're in, the more love vibration you're in. And even though you do not condone things that are against mankind or against planet and life, you don't go into the hate zone.
No.
Because you can't when you're in that loving vibration, right?
Right.
And all you can do at that point is send those people that loving vibration so that they may raise their own frequency and change their own ways. Hate begets hate, love begets love. So if you're in that loving vibration, that's what you're going to resonate out. And there could be somebody that's a lost soul that all they need to know is they're loved in order for them to ignite with themselves.
Right. Unconditional love is the core. I tell people all the time, we can talk science, we can talk anatomy, we can talk about everything. But the root and the truth is, if you're ready to hear it, is that unconditional love is the heart source of every cell in your body. And how can we gain that back for you? That's the conversation that they get to.
Yeah. You know of the Emoto water experiment, right?
Yeah.
Just for the audience who don't, 3 rooms, 3 different waters. One is ignored, one is given hate and negativity, and the other one is given love. The ignored one did not change at all. The hate one literally turned black and dense. The one that was given affirmations of love literally crystallized, that you can measure the crystallization in frequency and higher hertz. We are 70% water in our body.
Yep.
So what are we feeding ourselves, right?
I know. And we vibrate, right, to the things that are around us. People always say you're the average of the 5 people you're around and all that. And I'm like, yes. And you just mentioned too about being an orchestra. Your body's an orchestra. And if one of those instruments are out of vibration or sync, you're out. So you have to fine tune up to the level you want to be. And maybe not everyone wants to be on that high of an awareness. They just want to be okay. Well, that's fine too. Yeah. But a lot of us are starting to dig deeper and really crave that higher frequency.
Yeah. And it's understanding who's the conductor of your life.
Yeah.
For me, it's your consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It's your soul consciousness. It's that barometer of knowing what to feed, what not to rise up to, what to rise up to. That caringness, that lovingness. When you wish no harm to anyone, which again, I'm not condoning bad behavior, but I'm saying when we wish no harm to anyone, we're being a compass and a conductor in which to conduct our own lives on and direct our own instruments within our body.
Right. And that reminds me of a story, but what happened was I was working with someone and I told them what you just said to the audience. And she said, oh, that's a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
And I said, yeah, but it's a lot of opportunity. You know what I mean?
Precisely.
Look at the opportunity when you realize you're the one who's creating the life that you are living. How could you change the story? Rewrite your story.
Why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah.
If it's not been working for you so far. But this is where I went back, going back to what I said earlier. Some people don't want it because that means they do have to take ownership of their own choices. And they don't want that responsibility. They rather sit and blame everyone else or society as a whole. And the thing is, people who choose to resonate at that frequency, you can't help them because they're unwilling to help themselves.
Yeah.
We've got to understand your work is guidance. It's helping people find a well balance and equilibrium, but they've got to participate.
They do.
In order to make it happen.
Yeah, and you might know this, but actually there are scientific numbers behind healing, right? So if somebody comes and they want to have a healing, they want to be healthy, they want to be whole, they need to have 4%. That is it. 4% faith in that healer, and the healer has other 96. Yeah, and so that makes 100%, and all they need is 4%. So for me, Sarah, I know if someone comes, makes an appointment, sits in my chair, that's enough. That's 4%.
They've turned up. They've shown up. Yeah.
Yes. And if people understood that that's all they have to have is that 4%, and then they can have someone who has the other 96% and they can get on their way and change their life, the numbers are amazing. It's like, why wouldn't you do that?
But it's not like you're going to go from 4% to 100% overnight.
No.
People have to understand it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do it at your own pace and absorb it and take it in and try the vehicle out, as you go. Nobody's asking you to put the foot to the pedal, because even though you do have a 6-week course, it isn't the emphasis of, I'm 6 weeks, you're going to be whole. You're going to be further ahead. You're going to have some wonderful tools and skills to apply to your life, but take it from someone who's right on the other end of the scale. I have a daughter your age, and she's my youngest. It is right to the day you die. It's always in process. It's always in self-discovery. It's always in learning. The difference is that we love it at this stage, right?
Yeah. And that's same thing. I've had people say that too. It's like, oh, when is my healing going to be done? When is this over? And I'm like, oh gosh, no, that's life.
Yes.
Life is a process of continually moving forward. And healing to me might mean something different to everybody. Get the word healing in the term. But healing means that you're moving forward. You're not stuck mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. You're moving forward always. You're always learning. And so that's just how you take it in. But I think that healing is a process of how far do you want to go? What are your expectations for your own health, life, and any other part of it?
I think one of the wonderful things is, like, you can look back 10 years, I can look back quite a number. But actually I can only look back, I would say 94 was a massive shift from me of cosmic and spiritual mind-body alignment that sent me then on another path for 6 years, and then another huge shift came in my life that then set me on another path. And I can look back to a time where I literally lived paralyzed in fear and in trauma. And I look at that person then who felt that she couldn't go anywhere, she couldn't do anything, she just didn't have any power. And I look to who I am today. And that was because I allowed, and I was willing to participate and willing to constantly grow and redirect and be not what the world needs me to be Sarah, because Sarah's enough for somebody out in the world. We're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. If you're a cup of coffee, just be a good somebody's strong cup of coffee, right?
Yeah. And it's so weird, honestly. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so weird. Like, hearing your story makes me feel even more comforted in that I went through that too. And then we want to see someone who's come out the other side.
Yes.
And so it's hard, honestly. I get kind of weird thinking, oh, I got to share my story. I was so sick. And it was so crappy, and I had to be so vulnerable, and that's the reason that I changed.
Yes.
Because you didn't like it there, right?
No.
So then it pushed you into your greatness.
There's always a reason behind it. I mean, I've known of 3 people in the last 8 months that were given a diagnosis, and that they didn't have long to live. But, one of them could have changed their lifestyle. They certainly could have had a lot longer, because it all comes down to, yes, the body does wear out, but we can still rejuvenate and give extra time and better quality. They were all dead within a week because they gave into the diagnosis.
Wow.
Right? And instead of, and they did this to my father, they told me he had 4 years to live. No, he had 3 months to live. He lived 4 years, and that was 4 years drinking too much, driving too much, doing everything too much. Had he changed his lifestyle, he could have had a very good long life. But it was always chasing death, because come on, death, come and get me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's, I think we have to, be careful, medical doctors have to be careful how they deal out and to whom they're dealing to.
Yeah.
But I think we also have to look up and go, yes, maybe it's a hard knot getting that diagnosis. But how much do you value life, and how much do you value the people that love you? Because for you to give up is heartbreaking for them. Right. For you to say, I'm still going to walk forward the best I can and I need your help, is empowering them and empowering yourself. So yes, you're going to have an emotional little mini breakdown when anything is given to you. Yeah. But then when do you go, okay, all right, this sucks, but what am I going to do about it?
Right. And it does suck. It does, it's like, and I tell people that, yeah, this is crappy, but it's real and it happened. So what we're going to do now is take day to day and choose how we're going to change that. But you have the power to change that. It doesn't matter what anyone else said. We can change our beliefs and our mental state, and definitely our foods and our physical everything, to have the life that we want, no matter what someone has placed on you.
What illness did you have?
What's that?
What illness did you have?
Oh, so I was working with a couple different things. I had my thyroid was my biggest problem, of course, which now I understand was not the root of anything. That's just what medically I was told.
Right.
So at that point, dealing with all the symptoms of super rapid weight loss, falling asleep, forgetting everything, having the thyroid fall out, having severe pain, having your eyes bulge out, having your heart race, all those things were just the beginning of where I was headed. And I'll tell you what happened, and I'm so grateful for this experience, was I thought, okay, if something's got to happen here and they tell me I have to have my thyroid removed, I've looked at people who've done that, and I don't like the life they're living. So I had a decision to make. Do I want to live a half life, or do I want to live fully? And I thought, it's scarier to me to think that I could always have to be dependent on other pills and medications and everything than it is to go and try something new. So I took the leap and I did it, and it scared, like you mentioned earlier, it scared most of the people around me. It really did. And they were concerned, but it came out kind of as an anger.
Yes. Yes.
And so, because they're afraid and they're thinking that you're not thinking right. But
right.
I had my best interest in mind. And if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't understand all the tools and things I needed to know at a young age to help other people heal even faster. Because it took me years. And that's the thing, is we don't need to spend a lifetime healing, but we do need to get right and get balanced so that we can live the rest of our life on purpose.
Yeah, and you had to have that for you to discover what your purpose is.
Yep.
And you had to take the time into discovering what to do for it. Now other people do not need to take anywhere near that time, because you've got the tools and the skills for them to be able to really apply it where you were in discovery of what to apply. Right. But the gift now that you are offering is the gift of your wisdom and your knowledge on how to navigate through that.
Yeah.
And whether it's to do with thyroid or whatever it's to do with, most illnesses have a common denominator. And number one is the mental state.
Yep.
Right? That's number one, because you can't speak to the body and you can't hear the soul, the heart and spirit, intellect if the mind is in the way.
Oh, yeah. I was not honoring myself in that space at all. You know that. If I just started telling you all these symptoms, you're like, oh, girl, you are disconnected.
Yes.
And it's true, because I was suppressing the voice that I had because I was afraid of what others would think. And so I was punishing myself and made myself go through something way longer than I should have, because I wouldn't stand up and be my true self.
This is my body, and I'm going to do with it what I need to do with it.
Yeah.
Be there for me, or, I love you, leave me alone. Yeah.
And it's not bad to be intuitively connected, but people make you feel like that's weird or wrong.
Yeah.
Or that you're going to get the wrong answers. So I think it's awesome. And in our progress, there are 6 weeks of education. We did dedicate a week to becoming more intuitive and understanding what that means, because it's not all physical, not at all.
No, not at all. 100%. I can vouch for that. You know, I suffer from fibromyalgia, and I have the good days and bad days, and I have some physical things that have just broken the body down. And my son, who's Mr. Fix-It, and he's always wanting to fix me. You know, what this, and try that, and just do this. And I eventually got him to understand, stop trying to fix me, simply give me a hug.
Yeah.
That hug is so much medicine in it.
Yes.
That, you know, you can't fix me. It's up to me to find what works for me. Yes. Right? It's not for you to come along and say anything. You don't understand what I'm going through. It's for you to understand, simply love me, give me a hug, and that's support me. Yes. And I'll find my path. Because when you're living with your body, you would know exactly when to push and when not to push. That's the intuitiveness, how to listen to the body. The mind is always trying to override because it's data. Does the data, this is what that's the knowledge. You want to tune into the wisdom to understand which knowledge applies and which knowledge doesn't. And that only comes in from that attunement or listening to all of your senses.
Right. And you're so blessed to have support, and so was I. Mm-hmm. But not a lot of people have that. And so, you know, what really took off was when we started supporting people through our closed Facebook group that join our education. And it's amazing at how much they just need someone to get on there and say, you know what, you're doing the right thing and it's going to be okay. Support.
I see you, I hear you, you're not alone. It goes a long way, doesn't it?
Right? Yes, I'm listening, truly listening to what you're saying. And I am on your team. Like, we are cheering for you. Yeah. It's okay if you show up good today and bad tomorrow. We are here to help you figure this out.
Right. And to understand that, you know, whatever positive attitude you have, you're going to have bad days. Yep. Don't beat yourself up about it. Those are the days you've got to nurture yourself.
No. And it will stop you from helping other people. See, like, you don't want to be perfect. When you're perfect, it's over.
What is perfect too, really?
Really, yeah, no such thing.
I think imperfections are perfect. They make you unique.
Yeah, I love that. Right, imperfections are what make you you. And it's like, if you wait till you're perfect anyways, who are you going to help? You got to dive in and heal yourself. And what you're going to learn healing yourself, you can teach to others. So it's just this big ripple effect, you know. And if someone doesn't start standing up and doing that more and more, we're not going to make a big change as fast as we need to.
You know, inspiration is invitation. And when you inspire others by who you are, what you're doing, what the journey you've gone through, it's an invitation for them to step up into their own lives. And, you know, maybe your message is only to have people look at themselves and ignite something within themselves. Maybe it is to reach out and have your services. The whole thing is to shift people's perspective into knowing and believing that the answers are out there for them to apply within, however they're going to do it. But it's to understand they too can be an inspiration. I've interviewed people, think, but why do you want to hear my story? You know, I'm nobody big. Look at what you've been through. That is big. Yeah. You know, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. That is something to celebrate.
Yep. I say this all the time, but it's something that I keep written down and on my mind. It goes, you're just as much somebody as anybody.
Yes.
And that changed my life right there. I thought, yes, because, you know, I am, and what I can do, and nobody else can do. And the time that I can be there for others, nobody else has that time. And the way the world works, I'm where I'm at with this person for a reason. So I just need to show up. And you're right. I want to invite other people to show up for themselves, and then show up for their family, and then show up for their community, and start to make it just common knowledge of how we can take care of ourselves in our home, and then start to spread that and share that.
But it first starts with us, though, because what have you got to give if you're constantly riding on empty or depleting yourself? You owe it to yourself. You know, I used to have a business called The Importance of You, which is very different from self-importance. That's ego derived. But the importance of you is place importance upon you. Yes. Because you need to be fortified and flourishing and abundant within yourself for your cup to runneth over.
Right. And I think it's Oprah. She says, first heal yourself and then change the world, right?
Yes. You change the world by your light, you know? Yeah. Could you be helping people right now had you not been willing to change and do the work for yourself first?
No, that takes me right back to when I was laying on the couch and I literally couldn't even get up to help, feed my son, and other people were taking care of me and I was withering away.
Mm-hmm.
That just makes me so sad to think about that woman. Like, what in the world was I doing? Where was I at? Experiences that I had to live through to get to where I'm at. But I want to cut that time shorter. The learning process doesn't have to be so long for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
You've done it for them. As I say, you're always going to come across potholes in life, but what you want to make sure it's not a Grand Canyon.
Yeah. And why do you hire a coach in business? Why do you hire a coach in life? Why? Because you don't want to have to do all the things and learn all those things. Someone else has already done it.
Yeah.
Let them teach you.
And sometimes it's that sounding board for someone to say, yeah, you're on the right track, or, hang on, you're off balance a bit here. Let's bring you back. Because, it's, I always encourage people to have a good talk in the mirror, because the mirror, it's very hard to pull the wool over your own eyes, really.
Yeah.
But we do need that person there that kind of gets us. No judgment. Nobody's going to come at you and beat you up. It's like, come on, back to center, or, you're taking on too much, pull back, or you need to apply this or that. And this is the thing, is having somebody there that sees you from the outside in helps you recalibrate within.
Right. Yes. And like you said in the beginning, everyone deserves a healing.
Yes.
There's not anything that you've done that makes you less worthy of receiving a healing. You just get to decide on where you want to do that, how you want to do that, and with whom you want to do that.
Yes, and it's not one size fits all.
No.
The reason I do these shows is that you are going to resonate with people that hear you.
Yep.
That not only hear the words, feel the vibration, feel a connection with you, and they're going to go, I want to reach out. I can feel that connection, right? But it's not going to be everybody's going to do that. That's okay. You're not here to resolve everybody's problems.
Nope.
You've got to have a synergy with people, which is, everything comes down to a relationship. You've got to have a relationship where they are willing to hear you and apply, because that's their participation, and they know that you have got their best interests at heart, and they can trust you with that.
Right. We need them to show up just as much as we're showing up. We're invested in them, and all we ask is that they're invested in themselves.
Yes.
And we're not everyone's cup of tea.
Right. Exactly. Not meant to be either, The only thing that we should all be drinking is water. That's the only common denominator.
Yeah, so we can all have that good vibration.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the good water, please. Yes. Now, you work with your sister.
Yeah, I do. I love her.
Which is, most people can't work with their siblings. So that in itself is a gift.
Yeah.
She's seen firsthand what you've been through.
Yep.
And how you've come out the other side. Did she go for any of her own challenges as well that also she brings to the table? Tons of opposite. I mean, it's amazing. We're 2 years apart, and the things that I went through versus the things she went through, completely opposite. And now I understand how great that was, because anyone who walks in our door, we're like, oh, Kate can help you, Rachel can help you. We can resonate. She had a list long of all these symptoms and problems and diagnosis from the doctors. They were doing heart testing. They were doing all this stuff, trying to figure out what was wrong with her. And she's the first person that I ever got to treat and start to work with. And so we just built on that. And then what's amazing is then I taught her, and now we're both here taking care of people every day. And she's really the backbone to everything we do here. Her transformation, when people see her picture, they swear. Oh my gosh. And they do not believe. She's so toxic. So absolutely toxic, emotionally, physically, and every other way. And so to give her back her life and see who she really is, it's unbelievable. And then to be able to share that. So you're the yin and yang.
Yeah.
Right? So, as you said, you can take care of somebody on that vibration, she can on the other. But it also means that you can come together and look at this person as a whole. It's not, you're compartmentalizing and then looking at being able to trust the whole of the person, which is important. And I mean, that is a gift to be able to do it with your sister. It's really a gift, trust me.
Oh, I'm grateful every day. Not like you don't have your ups and downs, but you mentioned earlier how it's all about self-love. If we were who we were before in the beginning, just trying to make it every day on our own, the way we were sick, oh no, that would not have worked.
No, you'd probably kill each other.
Yeah, because we were angry, and
Yes.
there's no way you could have that much disease, toxicity, and otherwise if you didn't have a lot of anger.
Right.
So we had to heal ourselves that way. And I always tease, we run our business in a very millennial way. Mm-hmm. It's, hey, you need time off? Great. Hey, whatever makes you happy. Hey, right. It's more about us as a community rather than the business. And then that trickles into the business too,
yes,
right?
Yes. And this, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people think that when you have a business, it's got to be 9 to 5.
No.
And it's got to be this and it's got to be that. And the thing is, it's, I pour many hours every day into, what I do here, but I've just taken 2 days off to hang with a friend, and I'm about to take another 4 or 5 days off to go and see my son and have Mother's Day. I will still be working, but not doing shows, and it's, you need that balance. I need some me time. I need some family time. I need something that's going to fortify me, because then I am better able to serve my community. And that is the measurement of it. We're not looking at the 9 to 5, the gold watch, the picket fence 2.2 kids. I mean, we've got to look at where we're at today. Yeah. And you, by placing self-love and self-care, means you have more to give, more abundance to give when you give it, than like, oh God, I'm so tired, the 9th hour, I've got nothing left to give me, never mind anyone else.
Right. And it's impossible, like, to be able to show up for someone every minute of every day. You definitely have to have that in you. And I know and believe that love is a never ending energy. We all have endless amounts of love, but are we really cultivating that, nourishing that? Some of us are and some of us aren't. Yeah. And people ask us all the time, how do you show up client after client, or, taping after taping, all these things? Well, we take better care of ourselves. And that was definitely a learning curve. We have to force ourselves to take care of ourselves.
Every now and again, when I'm not paying attention to that message, the old universe comes along with a little cosmic 2x4. Okay, now you're flattened. Have you got the message? It means rest time. And it's like, oh no buts, down you go. And then it's like, oh shucks, because I think one of the key things, and which is something we don't do, is pay attention to the little triggers. And there's a trigger for your emotion, there's a trigger for your body, there's a trigger for the people around you, and it's paying attention to what those signs are. We're very, very bad as human beings at reading signs. We're very good at reading negative ones. What do they mean by that? But we're not really good at picking up signs of, like, avoid, say no, step away,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, saying no. Like, what? I can say no to all these opportunities and all that could come from this, but say no to taking on more clients or whatever. But saying no and creating boundaries around no, that is absolutely life-changing for people. And your value goes up and your worth goes up and you understand more about yourself. I've never learned more about myself than when I started saying no, in a very kind, polite way.
Yes, not right now.
Yeah, self-preservation.
Waiting list.
And that's okay. Everything doesn't have to be done right now.
No. And that's, my generation, of course, because everything was now. You've only got now. And I really, I always put an emphasis about you living in the now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The gift of the present is in the now. But that doesn't mean you have to do everything in the now.
No.
Right? It means being present with yourself. And if in this present time you need to give yourself some love and care, some silence, some nothing, and that's another thing. People don't know how to live in nothingness. Just doing nothing, being nothing, no meditation, nothing, just being still, doing nothing. It is so fortifying, but people don't understand that, do they?
No, they absolutely don't. And I didn't either. It takes practice to do nothing.
Yes.
It does. And you're like, oh my gosh, okay. I had to start giving myself permission. That's what I did.
Yes.
I was like, okay, I give myself permission to not kill myself working just because I have the gift and talent to do this. Right? Mm-hmm. So, and I give myself permission to sit around for 10 minutes and observe what I've done and be grateful and see what I need to do. But I have to give myself permission nonstop to be able to just sit back and reanalyze.
Yeah. Reflect.
To do nothing. Yeah.
Yes. Because, it is, when you reflect, you get the feeling, that's right. That's, that's a good part. Maybe that little nagging voice at the back of my head is saying that ingredient is wrong in the dish, And how are you going to know if you're constantly pushing ahead?
Yeah, you're
right?
not.
You're not paying attention to those moments where I always, talk about, I'm a whiskey drinker, and, I like a heavy smoky whiskey that's like amber. Don't give me fire whiskey. I want one that's got the ambers in there that are just, really robust, and the flavors stay there, and it's warm and inviting, and it takes its time to kind of absorb, and the flavor stays with you afterwards, not something you knock back, for the sake of a drink. And I think if we looked at life sometimes that way, a good cup of coffee, a good meal, take your time with it. Truly observe the flavors. Really take everything in. I mean, just slowing down. I have a show last week that went out on, should we, should we give everything over to Google and Siri? Because that's what's happening now, right? And we're not thinking for ourselves. We're not connecting with feelings. We're just allowing the robots that you were so scared were going to take over the world, but you're just handing it to the robotic devices to take over your life. So yes, they're taking over. That we don't know how to connect with our feelings or our thoughts because we're Googling and Siriing it all the time. And that disconnect causes us to become very empty inside and feeling worthless. So that hits more the millennials than it does my generation. Are you seeing some millennial clients that way?
Yes, and you hit it right on the nail. Every single person that I work with, it comes down to self-worth. Every single time. It doesn't not matter. It's where is their self-worth? Where is it going? And I absolutely have to admit, I never thought about it going to, the worth that you felt writing a checklist and checking off these things every day. Now you got a computer doing that for you. Or now you got, all these other techniques and tools that are doing these things that would usually make you feel accomplished and worthwhile. You're handing that over. And it's the little things that build up in our life that make us feel worthy of the life that we have and live.
Self-worth. It's self-love. It's self-caring. Right. It's self-importance. And there are times that we need to be selfish, right? That's very different from the narcissism, which is all about self at the expense of everyone else. But if we're not taking care of self, then how are we honoring anyone else? Because that means we haven't got enough to give.
Yeah. I wish I was more selfish when I was sick. I wish I was more selfish in my pregnancies. I wish I was more selfish throughout life in a lot of areas. So now I look and I think, you know what? It's okay to be selfish. Because I'm showing up for people more than I ever have.
And you're also teaching your son that, because I had 3 kids.
Oh, I did too.
Right. So, it's all about, being mama and everything around the kids. Right. And I became depleted emotionally, physically, every way you possibly could, because I wasn't really in a good marriage, wasn't a good relationship. So I poured my heart and soul into the kids, into the community kids. I had an open house for them. And I realized I lost myself. Sure. Where was Sarah? Sarah had disconnected from her soul. Her heart was in all of the kids, being there for them. But I had disconnected from myself completely because I was hiding from, the pressures of a wrong marriage, but also because I didn't think I was worthy to show up as Sarah, even though I was showing up as Mama Sarah. Sure. But showing up as Sarah was something that I didn't think I was worthy in doing, and I had to get that worthiness back. And yes, as my love Popeye statements, I am what I am, and I'm either your cup of coffee or I'm not. And then I think when we stop trying to be everything for everyone, and realize we can't, we never will be, and nor are we meant to be, and that just by being ourselves and our own beautiful light, we are there shining for those that can see us.
And you woke up at some moment during all that, observing yourself, right? And stopped being a victim of your circumstance and looked at that in a courageous way and decided, what's funny too is you decided, it seems like comfort zone to take care of all these kids and give, and that it would be scary to do something otherwise. But don't you think it's the same amount of work running all that you do now or taking care of all those kids? It was just a mind switch.
Yes. And this is, not saying looking after the kids wasn't pleasurable.
Yes.
But, because definitely being in the mama zone, most certainly my heart and, you know, soul totally into that. But being a person with a gift that I felt is more abundant to the many is where I'm at now. And I didn't allow myself to be, because I was selling myself short.
Yeah, absolutely. You were. Look at what
Right.
you're doing now.
Right. So that is such a huge lesson for people to understand, that we've also got to understand it, the measure of who you are isn't whether you're the greatest CEO, whether you're Oprah, or whether you're me. You know, it's not measured in that. You know, a janitor in a building is just as important as the CEO, because if that building isn't clean, nobody's going to want to come in it and see the CEO. We've all got to understand whether it's the triangle in the orchestra or whether you are the soloist. Everybody's got a role to play, and it's important to the whole.
True. And when you were made up with a vision in mind. Mm-hmm. And so there was a purpose and a plan for you. And the only thing that makes that uncomfortable is if you meet someone who's not in that role.
Yes.
So you're comfortable with someone if they are a janitor because that's where they're meant to be. And that's where they feel fulfilled, and that's what they love. But if you meet someone and they're not fulfilling that purpose, you feel a little off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you want to encourage people to be their best self and show up the best way that they were made to be. No matter what it is, we're all the same.
It's just, what is your instrument?
Yep.
Right? And through time, you may end up playing a lot of instruments. The older you get, you know, you're going to switch instruments or switch orchestras. You know, life isn't all one orchestra. Right. Like, you know, you're a spice in a dish at a buffet. It's all not the same buffet. You know, that's.
I love buffets.
Yeah, I love buffets. You know, I love potlucks when everybody brings a different dish. You know, and of course, my ex-husband is Chinese, so I adore Chinese food, and that means you get 10 dishes where you can sample everything, right? I get stuck with one.
And it's a different season. You were a mom, and now you're doing all this work for everyone else. You're reaching out. You have, you know, this amazing place to stand and use your voice, and everybody can hear that. And you're a place for things that are good to be heard.
Right.
But it's a different season for different things. And it's amazing how we choose to show up in those seasons. Yeah.
And, you know, I would say it wasn't easy because I didn't have people like you.
Really?
I had to figure this out all on my own.
Oh, you were ahead of your time.
I was ahead of my time. I was out there alone, and you'd meet people now and again who would do a shift or would do that, and then you'd have to, you know, like hand you a different instrument, and then you've got to work out how to play it. But I didn't have people. I mean, this is one thing about the internet today and podcasting, is the fact that I can share your story that can resonate with someone, and they're going to, I need her. This is where I'm at right now, and she's speaking to me. I need her. We didn't have that. It really wasn't much around when I was going through this. So today we really don't have the excuse, because as I say, when people say there's an app for everything, I say I have a show for everything. It's just a click away, right? There's people like you there, ready. This is your instrument, and you're coming from a place of caring. You want to see people spread those wings, become their light, be abundant, even be bigger and better than who you are on doing whatever they're doing. It's not about the size of it. It's about them stepping into themselves, right? And becoming that beauty that's inside. And it's very gratifying, isn't it?
Yeah, because you want to see people in their best self.
Yes.
And naturally, being intuitive, you see that whether they're sick or not.
Yeah.
And you know that's in there, and you just want to help dig that out so that they can show the world what they're meant to do.
You know, some people may say, but, you know, I don't really have an illness. I'm just kind of down or disconnected. They don't have to be sick coming to you, right?
Well, that can be the worst thing.
That's the thing. The fact that they're not connected or they feel discombobulated, you know, is a sickness in itself, because you are not in balance. So how can you live in your well-beingness?
Sure. Just because you're balanced physically doesn't mean that you are connected spiritually and with your higher self. And that can be more stressful than any other thing. So definitely have to work on reconnecting with soul.
Right. And, you know, and I'm glad you do mention the soul, because a lot of people get stuck at the heart, and the heart is essential. But the soul is our connection to our divine source, whatever you want to call it. And that is where I call it the knowingness that comes through. and that resonates with the heart in truth, that lifts the spirit into action and allows the mind to know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. And if you disconnect the soul from the heart will come with the emotion and the feeling, but it's not always the right emotion and feeling, because the soul is the one that's directing it in truth.
Right. And reconnecting people to their soul makes it so it's easier for them to move forward on every aspect.
Yeah.
And they're getting their own truth.
It's a compass.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. So how do you know who you are, where you're going, and what your truth is without being connected to your soul? You have to have that.
Now, do you have any particular age demographic, or is it doesn't matter? It's just a question of people connecting with you, and young, old, you know?
Oh my gosh, I know. I've had clients 90 years old down to brand new babies. Yeah. And the reason is, like you said, we might treat everyone for a different symptom or a different disease or a different problem, but it all comes down to spirit healing, soul healing. If that's in alignment, everything else will follow.
Right. And it's, you don't have to be the medical practitioner to know what's off. So really what you're doing is you're reading where the disconnect is.
Yes. Yep.
And so you're seeing that symptom of illness over here, that is not what the problem is. It's a symptom of this root cause, and you could see the root cause.
And, you say to people, if you've been treating this and this and this for this many years and you're still stuck, maybe you're treating the wrong thing.
Yes. That's very much Western medicine. Treat the symptom and don't go to the root cause of what the problem is, right?
Yep, you have to.
And there may be some things that, physically due to damage that cannot be fixed, but can be managed and not get in the way of your life if you know how.
Right. And we're talking about right now people who come in and see us in our office, which is amazing. But we've had a lot of requests lately and have been doing remote healings, phone consultations, amazing success. And that's what led us into our 6-week education. Right. We have to get this information into the home of every person who wants to make a change. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, they have the opportunity. There's really no excuses now with the technology we have.
Right, exactly. And we are going to go into a show right now, straight after this one, on purely what your business is, what the 6-week healing is, exactly what your process is for a client, exactly what you heal. So we invite people over to that show, and it's here on selfdiscoverymedia.com under the Discovery Services directory under Becoming You, and you'll just see you right there, and people just click on your name and it will go right into it. There'll be this show there. There'll be the video on exactly what you do, and of course all of your other work and everything else that you do there. So I invite people to come over there so they can get more in depth on what it is that you do. But in the meantime, for people to reach out to you if they want to bypass that, what is your site, and how do they reach out to you to know more?
Perfect. So it's simple. It's balancedwellbeings.com. All the information's on there, whether you want a phone consultation, start looking into our education, just start to learn a little bit more about us, then that's the place to go. It also links through to our Instagram and shows a lot more links just for fun things, learning, steps, some free downloads and stuff like that.
Exactly. And, I don't care whether it's an inch or a yard, of what your problem is. Even an inch can grow into a yard if left unattended. Yeah. And, it's a lot of people are suffering today from anxiety and depression, and there's still a lot of stigma around there. That depression and anxiety, sometimes it's chemical, an imbalance in the body. Sometimes it is neurological problem, but I think for the most part it is a disconnect from the heart and the soul, and that not knowing where you belong, not knowing what you're here for, and I think once you connect with that and ignite with that, you get in control of those feelings. So please, no shame and no blame to whatever you have or however you're feeling, but reach out to you, because you're going to actually help them define exactly what it is, and then at that root cause, how they can empower themselves to either erase it, live with it, or the skills in order to help them wherever they're meant to go next.
Yep, that's exactly what we do.
Excellent. So it's sorry, what was this site again?
balancedwellbeings.com.
Right. I'm dyslexic, so I always want to go well-being balance. So yeah, I'm always reversing everything. So it better comes from you. And for the people listening to the audio, you can come back to the site, selfdiscoverymedia.com. As I said, you can go to the services directory under Become You, or you can just simply put in your name, Rachel Kelsch. Now, will you please spell it for people? So that if they're just coming back here, putting in your name, and they can find all the information. So we have the correct spelling.
Perfect. So it's RACHELKELSCH.
Excellent. And just put in the name and you'll find everything all about her right here. And, please look into this next show we're going to do on exactly what she offers. If you've listened to this right to the end, you know that you do need her services, and at least be able to reach out and have a conversation. Take it to that next stage. Whether it goes any further than that will be up to the two of you. But at least reach out and have a conversation as to whether it's a fit or not. And if you're not willing to explore different avenues, as I say, you can go down a dozen avenues. Something you may pick up one little tidbit. One of them might be, that was a wrong avenue, don't go down that one again. And others maybe, I picked up a lot of information, but you're not going to know until you're willing to take the journey. So take the journey with Rachel and see what she has for you to help you live a well-balanced, meaningful life.
Absolutely. We're ready.
Okay, folks, so we're going to go over into our business show now. Please come over and listen to it. If you've listened to the business show first, please come in and listen to her show here on Choose Positive Living. Again, put in the name right there on the link on Becoming You, will lead you back to it, and understand her why. Why is she doing this? Why so young has she discovered those answers already and applying it to her life? How can we avoid the Grand Canyon? And not have to wait until we're stuck at the bottom there. She's got the skills. She's taken the journey. Don't let her youth hold it against her, because today it is about our millennials being the damn sight smarter than us, but it's also to do with the fact of where we're at. You live in a time of exploration, of permission, and of allowing, where a lot of the older generation are still dealing with that. And I've got 3 millennials, thank God for you guys, because you guys look at the problem and you go, really? That worked for you? No, let's try something else.
Yep, we love to solve problems.
Yes, exactly. And come at things with a very rational, logical, but loving point of view, right? Which is what I love to see. So I'm very happy to hand the world over to the millennials and the younger generation, because we haven't really handed it over to you very well, so I'm sorry.
No. It's good.
Okay, so on to the business show, folks. Please do listen to that. Again, if you've listened to the business show, on back to her why show, reach out to her. It doesn't matter what age you are, whether you're a newborn or whether you're on your way out. You just may want to make a better exit in life. And that's also very, very important. How we go out is also equally important, how we live our lives. So reach out to Rachel and see if she can help you. Thanks so much, Rachel.
Thank you, Sarah.
Until next time, folks. Bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show and were inspired to come and visit us at selfdiscoverymedia.com and see what other shows we have for you. And please do visit our selfdiscoverycommunity.org and see how you can be a part of giving back. Thank you very much.